Welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Creative with the LBC. We are on lesson number 9 in a series about learning how to play the ukulele. And we've learned a lot so far. I hope you're having fun with this and feeling pretty confident with your chords. Today we're going to do something, we're going to start learning a song that's a little different. It's actually an instrumental song. There's no singing, no lyrics. But it's very cool. I've found that, especially for beginners, when they get to learn this song, it just feels like you're really doing something. So it's a 2-part song. There's a rhythm part and a lead part. It's called Wipeout. And if you don't know that song by its name, you'll probably recognize it by the melody. Recognize it? Yeah, most people know that one. So, we'll get to the lead in another lesson. And today we're going to lay the foundation for the song by learning the rhythm part. And in the last lesson, there was one new chord, and that was the D7. And that D7 chord is in this song. In fact, all the chords in this song are 7 chords. There's an A7, there's the D7, and there's the E7. So we're going to look at those new chords and how to play them, and we're going to set up the structure so that you'll know exactly how to accompany the lead part. So it's fun. Let's do it. Okay, so today we're going to focus on learning the rhythm part. And there are a few chords we'll need to learn. One of them is the D7. We already had that one in the outdoors song from lesson number 8. There's another chord that's very, very easy. It's a 1-finger chord. And then there are a couple chords that are a little bit more challenging, but you can do it. If you have a little patience, you can do it. So let's do the very easy one first. It's a 1-finger chord. You're going to take your first finger, you're going to put it on the 1st fret of the 3rd string, and it's called an A7. And the only thing that's really challenging here is you need to make sure that your knuckles are bent and you have your finger arced over the other strings. You're not laying it down across strings and muting them. You want to hear all the strings ring clearly. But as far as where you're putting your fingers, there's only 1 finger to manage. Okay, so then we have the A7. Then we go to the D7, which we learned last time. Then we go back to the A7. Okay, now here comes a little bit of a challenge. The next 2 chords that we'll learn, they're called bar chords. And what that means is you take your finger, you take 1 finger, and you put a bar all the way across the neck. And you're actually fretting all the strings. So it's not like you're reaching across to hit this note. You're actually laying your finger down flat, and it is fretting each string. Then you take, this will be different for different people, there's different ways you can do this. You could take your 3rd finger and put it on the 5th fret, because we're on the 4th fret. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You can put your 3rd finger on the 5th fret, or you can put your pinky, whichever one feels comfortable. Sometimes I tend to use my pinky. I don't know why, it just feels better for my hand. They're both going to sound the same. And another little trick is, if you have a hard time holding all those strings down, you can clamp your 2nd finger down on top of it. So you can see now I've got my 1st finger down, and I've also got my 2nd finger on top of it for extra pressure. And then I'm going to use my pinky on the 5th fret, and you get this sound. That's called an E7. and then slide it down 2 frets. Exactly the same thing, slid down 2 frets. That is another way to play the D7. So this is a D7, and this is a D7. But we're going to use one D7 in the first part of the song and the other D7 in the last part of the song. Okay, so other than the new chords that we need to get familiar with, we also need to get familiar with a really popular pattern, which is going to tell how we switch the chords, in what order and how often. And it's called the 12-bar blues. You've probably heard that expression before, but you might not know exactly what it means. A bar is another word for a measure. A few lessons back, we talked about a measure, and when you see music written out, there are lines going this way, and then there are lines going this way, and in between each of those lines is a measure. These lines going up and down are called bar lines. So a lot of times, instead of calling a measure, it's called a bar. So this pattern has 12 measures, it has 12 bars, and when you get to the end of the 12 bars, you go back to the beginning and you play the whole thing again. When you get to the end, you go back to the beginning and you repeat it. So it's just a circular pattern that keeps on going as long as you want to go with it. So how does it work? What we're going to do is we're going to take the A7. This is going to be one that eventually we're going to definitely want to use our strumming pattern. Down, down, up, down. But I think to make things a little less confusing, I'm just going to strum straight down for now. Okay, so now I'm going to play all the way through the pattern, and I'll call out the numbers 1 through 12 so you can see how the pattern goes and what it sounds like. It's going to sound familiar because there are, well, it's a whole genre of music, the blues, and it pretty much follows, a lot of it follows this pattern. So we're going to start with our A7, and we're going to go 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, switch to D7, 5, 6, back to A7, 7, bar E7, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that was a 12 measure pattern, and all you do is continually repeat that over and over. Now that was very slow, and for us to really play the rhythm for the lead part, we're going to need to play that a lot faster. But that's okay, we're starting out, so we're going to take it slow starting out. Okay, let's do the whole pattern one more time, except this time I am going to use the new strumming pattern that we learned, down, down, up, up, down. You can either play this with all downstrokes, or if you're feeling up to it, you can try down, down, up, down. Every time you do down, down, up, down, it takes 4 beats to do that pattern. So every time you do one of those, you have just played a bar or a measure. So we're going to do 4 A7s, 2 D7s, 2 A7s, 1 E7, 1 D7, and then 2 A7s. Let's try it. A 1, a 2, a 1, A7. Ready, go. D7. Back to the A7. E7. D7. A7. Now, it's a little tricky, but you would actually you end on the A7 and then the whole thing starts again. So it may seem like you're staying on the A7 for a really long time, but you're actually starting the whole process again. Okay, so we broke the ice on Wipeout. It's gonna be a fun song to learn, and I think that's a good place to stop for today. You can take some time and work with that pattern, because when you feel confident, you'll play it a lot better and you'll just feel better about it. So let's leave it with the rhythm part for this week, and get ready for next week. We'll dive in to the lead part. All right, I hope you have a great week and take care.